Episode number 24. Welcome in. This is the Expected Returns podcast. Hopefully everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. My name is Stephen Luttman. I'm a real estate investor and agent here in the capital region of New York State. This is very much a real estate focused conversation. However, we do also touch on financial markets, economic data, really anything that's going to impact the world of housing. Not a ton to plug this week. I did put out an article on the debt ceiling and that ongoing argument this past week. If you are interested in that, you can head on over to sjlincoln.com/join. There you can be a subscriber to the newsletter. It is 100% free. However, again, that website is sjlincoln.com/join. And that way you'll get that piece of content as well as everything else that goes out about twice a month. Again, sjlincoln.com/join. That's it for the plugs. Let's get into the episode. Where I want to start today is with a conversation about small things turning into big. Now, this past weekend, Taylor Swift did 2 shows at MetLife Stadium, and tickets were impossible to get. And when I say impossible, StubHub had tickets starting at $1,100 plus fees. And these aren't floor seats. These aren't first row, second row. These are upper tier, classified as restricted view, meaning you're going to be spending your night staring at the back of the stage. As best as I could tell, originally these went on sale for $69, meaning the longer you waited, the more financially punitive it was if you did decide to go to the show. And this brings me to the Supreme Court's ruling this past week on home equity theft. There is a woman, Geraldine Taylor, and unfortunately, Miss Taylor found herself in a situation where she owed $15,000 of property taxes. Hennepin County in Minnesota, where Miss Taylor lives, decided to auction off her house, which they have every right in the world to do. And of the $15,000 that she owed, the property ended up selling for $40,000. Hennepin County elected to keep 100% of the $40,000. Let's take a quick step back and let's distinguish the difference between a property tax foreclosure and a mortgage foreclosure. Now, once upon a time, I did in my working world foreclosures, REO sales, debt restructures. This is a world I'm very much familiar with. In the event of a mortgage foreclosure, there's going to be 3 outcomes for the lender. They're either going to receive everything that's owed to them, they're going to receive less than what's owed to them, or in the event that no one bids on the property, they receive title and ultimately have to find a new owner for the property. Notice none of these 3 options include some wild bonanza where the lender comes out massively ahead via foreclosure. In the event of a property tax foreclosure, there are 12 states that currently don't return excess funds to the original owner. I'm embarrassed to say this. I actually had never heard of this before. And it turns out of the 12, New York State is one of them. This is all news to me. Think of how perverted this is. A municipality is better off foreclosing on you than they are working with you. Now, especially think of a municipality that is underfunded, where they're struggling to get their schools, teachers paid, pave the roads, all the things local municipalities are responsible for. They're better off taking your house and finding a new owner than they are working with you to restructure your debt. During my research, I found several cases of people owing literally dozens of dollars, and for various reasons, either got lost in the mail, they forgot about it. There are a multitude of reasons why small bills go unpaid. And by the time you start tacking on late fees, and eventually these things get kicked to attorneys, then you got to pay attorneys fees, suddenly $20 turns into $2,000 pretty quickly. How egregious is this practice? Well, if anyone's been following the Supreme Court closely, which I won't claim that I do, but it seems to be pretty contentious, right? It seems like there's a lot of 5-4s, maybe some 6-3s. They voted 9-0 in favor of property owners in this case. We might go years before hearing of another 9-0 decision. Good for the Supreme Court, good for property owners. Waiting to do things, whether it's buying Taylor Swift tickets or paying your bills, should be punitive the longer you go without doing it. But neither should result in you losing your house. We'll now pivot to a company we don't talk a ton about on here, but it's still super important in the world of housing, and that's Opendoor. Based in San Francisco, Opendoor is the country's largest iBuyer. We've talked about previously Zillow, Redfin shuttering their iBuyer programs. Essentially what the business model is that folks like Opendoor will reach out to homeowners and say, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we will buy your property 100% cash, no appraisals, no inspections, no realtor fees. And by the way, we can close super, super fast. And ultimately they take the property, renovate it, and sell it for a profit. It's the latter part of the business model where Opendoor seems to be having some problems. They released their first quarter results and it was brutal. They suffered a net loss of $100 million versus a loss of $28 million last year this time. Revenue was down 39%, an 81% decrease in the number of homes that they purchased, and an 86% decrease in the number of homes they currently have under contract. If you had bought this stock when it first started trading 3 years ago, and just for some perspective, over that same time frame, the market as a whole is up roughly, call it 25% over those 3 years. Since then, if you elected to load up on shares of Opendoor, you've lost 78% of your money. That's a disaster. So what's the takeaway here? Well, turns out flipping houses, being a real estate investor, is harder than it looks. Perfecting a pricing model that works nationwide is also very hard. Trying to do both of those things at the exact same time appears to be impossible. We'll wrap today with just a couple of random topics. If you are a renter here in Schenectady and you're going through a tough stretch financially, or maybe someone close to you is, $200,000 worth of assistance just opened up through the folks at Schenectady Community Action Program. This works out to roughly $4,000 worth of aid for 50 approved applications. Again, if this fits for you or maybe someone close to you, the group you want to connect with is Schenectady Community Action Program, and they'll be able to walk you through the application process. In my universe here, turns out real estate agents are quitting en masse. The National Association of Realtors put out a piece. Over the past 6 months, 60,000 real estate agents have left the industry. What the heck is going on here? There simply aren't enough transactions for everybody to eat. This is true for agents, for appraisers, for loan officers. Give you a taste of just locally here. So GCAR, which is the local realtor association, put out their statistics for the month of April. There were 23% fewer transactions conducted in April 2023 versus April 2022. It was 60,000 agents in the first 6 months of the year. There's no reason to believe another 60,000 won't be gone by the end of the year. And finally, I'll pass along some comments. I had a communication with a lender this past week, and I'd asked if waiting to rate lock until after the debt ceiling was negotiated was prudent. And this person was pretty adamant not to do that. You want to lock in now. And my other question for them was, if for someone who might be looking to refinance in a couple years and they're thinking, hey, rates are higher now than they are going to be in a couple years, if this is your philosophy, would it make more sense to go into an adjustable rate product now and refinance in a couple years? And it turns out it is more expensive to get into an ARM today than it is for 30-year fixed rate debt. And this is just a weird byproduct of the inverted yield curve. Just some food for thought, though. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for spending some time with me. There are a lot of options for entertainment. Hopefully you did get something out of this. Consider sharing the episode with a friend or a family member. And this is so simple to do. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, at the bottom of the video, you'll see an arrow. You click that, you get the link, and you can quickly fire it off again to a friend or a family member. It's not much more difficult if you happen to be listening on Spotify or any of the audio products. They all have something very similar. So again, if you did get something out of this, you found it informative, consider sharing it with a friend or a family member. DMs are always wide open. I'd love to hear from you. Most active social media platform is going to be Instagram, and that's going to be sjlincolnrealty. If you want to connect with me directly, there are two ways you can do that. It is steven@sjlincoln.com. That is my email address, goes directly to me. Or you can visit the website, sjlincoln.com/book a call, and you can schedule a time for us to chat via phone or Zoom. Again, that's going to be steven@sjlincoln.com. Email sjlincoln.com/book a call. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.